Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley, where we have a non-stop festival. And I first offer my respectful obeisances to my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and everyone who's joined us today. Hare Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find nested stories and conversations. They're meant to bring to light the purpose of life and how to attain it. And last night, we had explored several verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we had a goal to discuss 29 specific verses. Last night, we ended with discussing the verse Samasritaye padapallavaplavam mahatparam punya yasho mararehe bhavam burirvatsa param padam 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 yampi padam natesham. And in this verse, Samasritaye padapallavaplavam describes how the origin of everyone is personal. And that this position of safety for every living being is to recognize one's dependence. Tendency is to become independent and think that by becoming independent that I will be stronger. Actually, even in a common understanding of sociology and individual achievement. Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, writes about dependence. And after that, when people feel dependent, they strive for independence. But then they find the strongest position, which is interdependence. The Srimad Bhagavatam describes that our best position is being interdependent with the Lord. It's a concept which was enunciated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explaining what our existential situation is, and that we're part of the whole. Just as a sun ray might be considered a part of the sun, it may also simultaneously be considered the sun, because it's part of the sun, it's also part of the whole. And so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in enunciating our existential situation, said that we're simultaneously one with, but different from the Supreme. And our relationship is that we're tiny. Although we're same in quality as the Supreme, our position is smallness, infinitesimal in size. And this is described in the ancient Shastras, the nature of the self, as being chit kana. Chit means conscious. We are conscious. So is the Supreme. And kana means a particle of consciousness. So we have an independent identity, but we are existentially dependent on the whole. So the point is that when we recognize our dependence and find solace in the fact that we are part of the whole, and that a real protection comes in declaring our dependence on the whole, or as we describe the whole as a person. The Srimad Bhagavatam says there are various features of the Supreme Whole. First, I'm using this nomenclature describing God. So we just say God, but what is God? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami says, Vadanti tat vavidas tatvam yajnanam advayam rameti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. the Supreme is one, but it has three features: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Brahman means the diffused energy of the Lord that is impersonal, light. And then there's the all-pervading spirit. And sometimes when we think of an all-pervading spirit, we also think of something amorphous. But the way it's described in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is the all-pervading supreme consciousness is also personal. So when you see depicted in paintings and so forth, the supreme spirit, also known as Paramatma, we see a person present along with us. Sometimes the body is described, for instance, in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad as a tree, and it definitively says that there are two birds in the tree. One bird is the observing bird, that would be the Supreme Soul, and the other is the bird that's trying to eat the fruits of the tree. And that's the individual soul who's dependent on God. And so the verse, Samasritaye Padapalava Plavam Mahatpadam Punyam Yashomarade, indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the one from whom we should seek shelter. Also indicates that he's personal, because he's given the name Murari, which means the killer of the Mura demon. And the advice given there is don't try to take shelter in the material world. This is similar to advice given by Shukadeva Goswami, who definitely didn't take shelter in the material world. He wasn't concerned so much with style. Whereas I carry what color my kurta is, he didn't wear a kurta or a dhoti or anything else. He said, I'm not even going to touch the material world. So he had said to Parikshit Maharaj early on in the Bhagavatam that one should be aware that anything you take shelter of in the material world is what he called a fallible soldier. There's a psychological need to be dependent on someone or to find safety somewhere. For instance, there could be an underlying psychological belief, or just call it a belief, not a psychological belief. It sounds redundant. I may hold a belief that if I have enough money, then I'll be protected. But that may not work, because as Prahlad Maharaj says, you may have all facilities and get the wrong doctor. It's happened many times. You get the best of the best and they still make a mistake. Or in the worst of times, when people aren't even attended to, they just heal. I'm just saying that we can't depend on circumstances in this world. That's what the verse is saying that we ended on last night. And in parallel, Shukadeva Goswami said, Deha patra kalatra dishu atmasainesa satsapi tesham pramato nidhanam pashanapina pashiti. That we see it, but we don't see it. We see that there's no shelter in the material world, but still we seek shelter. So the description of the material world is given in one word in this verse, vipadam. Vipadam means that there's danger at every step. Whatever step we take could be the last. So he said, there's a recourse. You can't take shelter of Krishna, he'll give you shelter. He says it in the Bhagavad Gita, just surrender to me, I'll protect you. Don't worry. I mean, if an ordinary person drives up here and puts a table up out there, and opens a briefcase and says, you line up here, I'll take care of all your affairs, just sign this paper. First you'd probably want to know what's in the paper. But you might think, is this person really going to be able to handle all my affairs? But if you accept theoretically that there is an all-powerful personality, aka God, and he's a person and he says, don't worry, I'll take care of you. At least you can accept theoretically that he has the capability of protecting me. And it could be a good exercise to think about that. What might happen if I did completely surrender to God? And just as a continuance of that thought, what does it mean to surrender to God? It means 6 things. Not to complicate, but to make it more simple or clear. The path of what we call surrender, which can be an abrasive sounding word, is called sharanagati, which really means taking shelter. And there's 6 aspects to it. Would you like to know what they are? Yes. First one is to accept things that are favorable. I like this because you could always make a list and say what things would be most favorable for me in my relationship with the Supreme, as suggested by the Bhagavad Gita, for instance. I could make a list. And then it says the opposite thing, which I've been lately advocating to myself when I sit myself down and say, okay, here's what I suggest for you, is to make a not to do list. So that's the second thing that the verse says is in the path of taking shelter of God, is make a not to do list. Are there any things that, you have any things you're doing now that makes you annoyed with yourself? Have you ever been annoyed with your own self? Like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you asking me? I am me, and why are you asking? There could be some cognitive dissonance going on, that I know what's right, but I'm not able to do it. Part of the surrender process is to identify those things. Don't be in ignorance, and simply bypass them and say, well, everybody does it, or it's not possible. Those things are not sensible. At least they're not progressive at all. So this is helpful guidance. Number 1, find out what's favorable for advancing your relationship with Krishna. And then say, I'll do those things to the degree that you can at this point. No need for heroics. Number 2 is find out those things which are detrimental to progress in devotional service, which are especially mentioned as being obstacles, bad habits. And then have a systematic plan to not do them. It helps if you think about it ahead of time and plan it out. So far, so good? The third one is to consider that Krishna is, when I say Krishna, I mean God, the source of everything, who's our best friend. As he describes himself in the Gita in many ways, Bhuktaram Yagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He says, I'm your best friend, first of all. I'll be there for you no matter what. And then he also says, I own everything. So it's nice to know somebody like that. And then he says, also, I can accept whatever offerings you give. Bhuktaram Yagatapasam. Many people can't accept. You say, here, take this. I can't hold it. I can't read anyway. I don't have time. I can't take the Bhagavad Gita. I can't. But Krishna can take anything. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, give whatever, you can accept it? Like, yeah, I'll accept it. He's all accommodating. He's like fire. He can digest anything. Bhuktaram Yagatapasam. So if you consider that Krishna is my maintainer, he's maintaining me in every way, and if we consider that the universe is filled up with food and money, isn't it? Is there any food available in Silicon Valley? Is there any money available? Yes. Well, who's it available to? Not everybody, apparently, because some people get some and other people don't. So there's a way that one may discover one's own limitations as far as procuring what one needs in the world. And one may study the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam and come to an understanding based on wisdom. For instance, Nārada Muni in the first canto, 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam says, Tasyaiva hetoḥ, prayateta, kovido, labhyate yad bhramatām upary labhyate dukkavad anyata sukham, kalena sarvatra gabhīra ramasa. This advice he gives to Srila Vyasadeva, of all saints. And he says that in the material world, when we're separated from God by our own consciousness, own misuse of our attention, we place it elsewhere besides on God. What happens is, he said that we're wandering. Tasyaiva hetoḥ, prayateta, kovido, labhyate, yad bhramatām udhara. We're loitering, basically, and we're just wandering around aimlessly. 7-Eleven keeps a sign in its parking lot, says, don't loiter. Loitering means hanging around for no reason. That's literally true if you're living in the material world and you're not on a mission from God. You're hanging around for no reason. Because you're not going to get anything here. I mean, we hate to break it to ourselves, but there's nothing here for us. Asango hyayam purusha. You can't actually acquire anything here because it'll be taken back. If someone invites you over and says, listen, I have a lot of resources. You come to my place. I'll give you as much ice cream as you want. I'll give you $10 million in a bag. And I'll give you the best clothes, any clothes wardrobe you want to pick out. There's only one caveat, and that is, at the end of the day, you'll have to disgorge the ice cream, and I'm taking the money back, and the clothes, they'll have to be returned. What's more, 3 big people will come out from the back room and beat you with shoes. Prabhupada said this. He said that's a metaphor for our life in the material world. He said, yeah, take as much as you think you can take here in the material world, but somebody's going to come at the end and beat you up for it, take it all back. It's like, hey, you got to give that back. Nah, I don't want to give it back. Too bad. Move on. So Nārada says, Tasyaiva hetoḥ, prayateta, kovido, labhyate yad bhramatām upary. He mentions that things come and go in this world, and we're also visited by distressful situations. Yes, sometimes. He said, so you didn't invite them. You didn't put anything out on the internet, say, if anybody wants to bug me, please feel free. Here's my number. Call me any time of day or night. And just try to give me grief. Did anybody do that? But still, people call you in the middle of the night and give you grief, right? But maybe innocently, they just call you to tell you about something that went wrong, and now you're accountable for it, for one reason or another. So Nārada said those things come of their own accord. And the reason they come of their own accord, he says, is gabhīra. It's very deep. It's mixed into our experience of the material world, because if we wrote an autobiography for the soul, that'd be a nice book, right? The autobiography of a soul. How many lifetimes would you have to go back to have a complete memoir of your time in the material world? It could be many creations. Creation, 311 trillion years. Times who knows what. Could be thousands or millions or trillions of those. How would you trace it out? That's why it's gabhīra, because we interact with the material world knowingly or unknowingly. We contact good and evil, even beyond our control. Therefore, it all comes out in this lifetime. So he says, just as grief visits you without you asking for it, he said, gain or happiness, it will visit you even if you don't ask for it. He gives a comparison. You didn't ask for grief, right? How did it come to you? By the impeccable arrangement of the energy of the Lord. And how does good come to you? By the impeccable arrangement of the Lord. It comes automatically, he said. He said, therefore, you shouldn't spend so much time trying to hyper arrange for your maintenance. Live a balanced life. Take what you need. But don't become overheated in the process. Know that everything's coming from God. And if you know the secret of life, that the more you give, the more you grow. That's what yajna is. Yajna means you've discovered the secret of life. The more you're able to give to the Supreme, the more you gain. The more you become happy, the more you're satisfied and have everything you need. So studying wealth and its inconvenience, it's very inconvenient to possess wealth. I mean, there are some conveniences to it, but you have to worry about it a little bit, right? I mean, did you cross all your T's and dot all your I's in your accounting? Sorry to bring it up. But there might be something you didn't consider. Does that bug you? Probably. Trying to hold on to anything in the material world and say, this is mine. Of course, we have to do that. We have to be dutiful and be good stewards of whatever we have. But Nārada is recommending that you study the situation in the material world, not become overly attached. And, of course, that means don't become overly detached as well. But the point is, if one comes to an awareness that my heart is beating by the will of the Lord, I'm able to take another step because Krishna is allowing me to, through the agency of the material nature. And then I'm helpless in that. So Krishna is my maintainer, and he's also my protector. Those are the next two. One may try to protect oneself, says Prahlad Maharaj. He's praying to Lord Nrsingadev. Remember Prahlad? Did you see the movie? Balasya neha sharanam pitaro nrsimha nartasya cha ganavadanvati majatono taptasya ta pratividir yaihanjasheshas tavad bibo tanubitan tvadupekshitanam. Prahlad said in his prayers to Lord Nrsingadev that parents try to protect their children, but is there an absolute guarantee they can do that? And a doctor, why does a doctor make you sign 7 times before you have a little operation on your knee that says, I can't guarantee I'm not going to kill you in the operation? 7 times. Sign again, sign again. You get it? I could accidentally kill you. Why? Because Prahlad says, you do the best you can. You take the best medicine, take the best advice, but it doesn't mean it's going to save you. And thirdly, he says, a boat on water. If a man's drowning and you go to save him, you may take the best boat. Case in point, Titanic. Unsinkable boat, sank on its maiden voyage. Did you know that? That's a true story. They built it with such girth and used the best elements, and everyone said, it's unsinkable. Never say that. Like my mom used to say, famous last words. So this sense of dependence on Krishna. Vipadam means there could be disaster at any step. We don't know. So don't depend on your own resources. I mean, keep resources. You do everything you possibly can. But you should have a complete awareness, upekshitanam. If the Lord doesn't sanction it, it's not going to happen. Be more dependent on Krishna than you are on your resources. And last two, he said, be humble. This is one of the great secrets of life. Athletes know it. I've heard great athletes say before, when interviewed, after they've just done something remarkable, won something remarkable, I heard one athlete say, I just try to remain humble and hungry. Because they want to hear it. You're so great. And the next time they'll go out there and get crushed. Because we're helpless. Where does our acumen for writing something come from, or for saying something that seems clever or brilliant? It comes from Krishna. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto matak smritir jnanam aponam cha vedaishta sarviraham eva vedyo vedanta kridveda vedeva chaham. Krishna says, I'm the source of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So be humble. We're helpless. It's part of the process of sharanagati, or surrender, to be humble. Does it feel good to be humble? Humility really means to be aware that we're instruments. We're not the doers. If we're able to do anything, it's by Krishna's power. For instance, we were talking about Prabhupada when he came to America. He didn't have anything, and he was very humble about it. He said, I'm insignificant. You know what he signed his diary and his poetry? He said, the most insignificant beggar, he signs. That's humility. Just, oh, you're a great person. I'm an insignificant beggar. This is advice of Queen Kunti also, great devotee, pure devotee. She says, Janmaishvarya Shuta Shribir, Edamana Madapuman, Naivar Yavidatumbai, Twamakinshana Gocharam. Don't think you have something. She says, Janma. If you come of a high birth, don't mention it. Aishvarya, you have a lot of opulence. Like Chanaka Pandit said, if you have a lot of money, don't tell people about it. Let them figure it out for themselves. How'd you afford a ticket over there? I was like, I don't know. You just landed here. I don't even know how I got here. Don't bring it up. Janmaishvarya, Shruta Shribir, if you're highly learned, just speak nicely and let people figure out you're learned. Don't tell them where you went to school. Shribir, if you're beautiful, don't flaunt it, because you should know beauty is skin deep anyway. The real beauty is the quality of one's character. Edamana madapuman. Don't become intoxicated by these things. Always be humble and hungry. And the final, the sixth, is that one should consider that everything I have belongs to Krishna. How hard is that? Well, it's not a stretch, because whatever we have is on loan. Don't get in an Uber and say that you own the car. They'll ask you to get out, and they'll give you a demerit, or whatever they do. I don't know what they do. They give you a bad rating, right? They'll put it, this guy's crazy. Or go to a Airbnb, and it's like, I think I'm going to paint the place. Maybe rearrange the walls. Don't do that. It doesn't belong to you. This is common sense to accept this idea of Atma Nivedana, which Bhaktivinoda Thakur catalogs all the ways in which his assets don't belong to him. It's smart business acumen anyway. Everybody knows when you do your financials, and you do the long form, and you itemize everything. And you say, yeah, that was a business expense. You see, the place I live, actually, that's where I do all my work. So, and my car, I only drive for business. What else can you write off? Any accountants in here? Kunji, are you an accountant? You're not doing accounting, okay. Everyone knows you have a nonprofit, it's like, we're not making a profit, it's not for us. If you have religious organizations, it's supposed to be, we're just doing it for God. If you do your taxes in that way, you may come out owing zero because it's not mine. It belongs to the corporation. This pen, see, it's got a logo on it. It's not my pen. This car, it's just for business. And so Krishna says in the Gita, if that's what your life is, everything's for Krishna. Is that your car? It's not my car. It's Krishna's car. What about that room you're living in? It's not mine. It's an ashram. I don't own it. Don't touch it. You touch it, it's yours to deal with. The problem is everyone has an opposite understanding. The more stuff I can pile on, the happier I'll be. But if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. So the Shastra comes and saves us and say, be humble, hungry. And understand, Atma Nivedana means something very striking. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Atma is the self, right? You say, well, certainly, that belongs to me. Bhaktivinoda writes that off also. He said, even my soul doesn't belong to me. I'm giving that to God. That's the meaning of sarvadharma parityaja. That Krishna says, just renounce everything. It doesn't mean that you're bereft. It just means you're sane. Don't be a fool. Declare everything belongs to God. And you can write it off. Because when you take this tact in life that everything's for Krishna, and by giving to Krishna, then I feel satisfied. So this verse, samasrita ye padapallava plavam. Krishna is beautiful. He's opulent. He's giving. He's protective of the living entity who takes shelter of him. Don't take shelter in the material world, but take shelter of Krishna. Vipadam. And I'll just say one more verse. What comes after that? Samasrita ye padapallava plavam. What's the next one? Eta vajjam masapalyam. Shreya eva maho. No. It's Eta vajjam masapalyam. Dehinam iha dehishu. Prana arta diyavacha. Shreya acharnam sada. This verse is spoken by Krishna. You're going to like this a lot. Because it relates to what I'm just saying now. Krishna, just after stealing the garments of the unmarried gopis, he utters this statement to his friends as they're walking back to town. He said, actually, up to this, etavaj or etavan becomes by Sandhi rules, it changes to a J. In the beginning, etavan means up to this point. Etavaj janma sapalyam dehinam iha dehishu. Said, you should use your life for these purposes. To do good for others. Shreya, acharnam sada. Your activities, your achar, should all be for shreya, for doing good for yourself, doing good for others. And in what assets does Krishna name that you have that you can do good for others with? He says, Dehinam iha, no, he said, Etavaj janmasapalyam, shreya, I'm sorry. No, say the second line. Dehinam iha dehishu. If you're embodied, that's what it means. If you're a soul in a body. Anyone? Anyone? Soul in a body? Soul in a body? Going once, twice. AI robots out there. Dehinam iha dehishu. Praner artar dyavacha. Praner means with your life, energy, your prana. Use your life energy. Prana, artar means your wealth. Diya means your intelligence. Vacha means your words. Prana, artar, diya, vacha. Shreya acharnam sada. Krishna says to his friends, he said, this is how you should live. You're human, do good for others. In which way? Through your body, your life, your intelligence, your wealth, your prana, artar, diya, vacha, and your words. Speak for the benefit of others. So these are directives given in the Shastra. Give me one more verse. What's the one after that? Etavat janmasa kama krodha. Huh? Kama krodha bhayam sneham aikyam saridam evacha. Nityam harao viratato yanti tan mayatam hite. I'll go into that one later. It's a little more esoteric. But these are some guidelines. They're commonsensical guidelines given in the Shastra that anyone can follow. Now, we'll take 2 minutes for any thoughts you have. Yes? Yashoda Kripa beat you to the draw. Tie goes to the runner, infield fly rule.
Hare Krishna. So, Maharaj, you mentioned the story of Titanic, how it was presumed to be an unsinkable ship. So that reminds me, recently I learned a phrase, which at least new for me, says, trying to rearrange chairs on the Titanic. How does it matter in your life? So just thinking like our life is materially like that only. We keep on rearranging the chairs in our life, but at the end we know what's going to happen. It's like arranging chairs on Titanic.
Yep. It's a really apt metaphor. My grandfather was on the Titanic. Way. I have the paperwork. My uncle gave it to me. He got off, though, because there was a way to wire money at that time. Look it up. It was a kind of internet from that period when they could wire money. He got on the Titanic, and his payment didn't go through. There was a wireless way that you could wire payment. I'm surprised, even at that time. I forgot what it was called. Huh? Huh? Morse code. It wasn't Morse code. Moscone or something like that. It was an electronic device. Not a pager. It was way before pagers. My grandfather. You know how old I am? So, no. In any case, don't worry about it. He got off they took him off the boat because the payment wouldn't go through. He was good for it, but it just didn't go through. So they took him off, I think, around France. He got off the boat and then it sank. Destiny. Gabhīra rambasa. We don't know. The material world's vipadam. I'm here to talk about it. He was my grandfather. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Yes.
In the verse, Samashritaye padapallava plavam, you were talking about how, and then you quoted Prahlad or Nārada Muni's instruction, I think Prahlad or Kayadu, regarding how happiness comes
of its own accord.
Yeah, happiness and distress come of their own accord.
Yeah.
And because of that, we might as well focus on other things rather than endeavoring for happiness.
Give the emphasis.
Put an emphasis on other things.
Not just other things, but the main thing.
The main thing.
Which is make spiritual advancement.
Yes, and by doing that, we take the shelter of Krishna. And so what I was wondering is, what does it look like to be under the care of Krishna? What does that feel like? Is that something that we can experience before Atma Nivedanam in a way where like we can trust that we will be taken care of under him?
You can do it right now. If you become very aware of the fact that it's a miracle that the molecules in your body are holding together, you can become aware of Krishna's statements in the Bhagavad Gita about how he's maintaining every living being at every second. And if you realize it in yourself as a helpless entity, from moment to moment, you might look in the mirror and go, oh, wait a minute, what's that? What's this? What's that? We're helpless in that way. we have a fragile little frame. Somehow it's going on. I recounted how one day I was in a liminal state. You know what that means? Lim comes from Latin, it means the edge. And there are times in which we may be in a liminal state, like when we're waking up from a nap. Have you ever woken up from a nap and you find yourself clairvoyant? I get clairvoyant when I get jet lag. I was like, why didn't I think of all these things before? Because I wasn't in a liminal state. And I was lying on my left side, taking a 20-minute power nap one day. And as I was coming out of that state of being asleep, I became aware that my heart was beating. Just before I said that, did you notice that your heart was beating? Even now it's hard to even, it's just like, it just does it. Even from the time we were little babies, the heart beats and we never think of it. But suddenly I became hyper aware of my heart beating. And I had a conversation with my heart, liminal state. I said, well, thank you very much for doing this for me. And my heart answered and said, you're very welcome, but it's not up to me. I may be asked to stop at any time. I became very sensitive to it in that moment that actually I'm suspended by the mercy of a higher power at every moment. It's not just that, do I have enough cupcakes in the cupboard? But it's, my very life is held together by a higher force. How are your eyelids opening and closing at the right, in the right cadence? And how's your heart beating? And how's your respiratory system working and all that? It's going on by higher power. And if you become aware of that and realize that you're being maintained at every moment, how do you heal when you get a cut or you get sick? Is that not a miracle? I'm hypersensitive to things that happen to me, so my first response is, oh no, that's it, that's the end. My mom used to say I was a hypochondriac. And then, but I've come to learn from having been cut, things broken, it's a break in my body. And it's like, what should I do? Oh, nothing. Just like hold still for a while. It'll cure itself. Who thought of that? And who's doing that, by the way? Where does that energy come from? I just take it for granted. It's all free. Yeah, we're being maintained by Krishna. And we become very aware of the fact that at every moment, our vision is coming by the grace of Krishna. How do we even interpret the colors in the environment? How do they all get put together? It's just evolution. It's happened by chance. It's put in a shaker bottle, and next thing you know, there's an eyeball. You just have to do it 12 trillion times, and then it'll work. You'll be dead by then, though, right? So, if we become aware of the fact that right now, as we're breathing, we're dependent on our breath. And we can't even stop breathing if we wanted to. Try it. You can't keep doing it, right? We're on a breathing machine. It's like we're in intensive care, and it's an automatic thing that's going on. We don't even think about it. So really, spiritual life means begin thinking about it. Where's food come from? Who made a banana? And how does it, when I eat it, get assimilated in my, where's the potassium? How does the potassium know which route to go to take care of the electrical responses within the body and so forth? It's Krishna. And that's basically the doctrine of Krishna consciousness. Krishna is everything. And he's controlling everything. He's doing everything. So Bhagavad Gita means become aware of that. And Prahlad Maharaj saying, be aware of all the ways in your life that you're being supplied with anything. Like you have an income, you have a job. Prahlad Maharaj says, that's Krishna. He gave you that job. The money, that's his energy. It's all him. So that's what it means to be Krishna conscious. Realize that everything's Krishna. Everything's coming from Krishna, it's all his energies working. So you can become aware of that in the moment. Okay? All right. Now we have an opportunity, because we just didn't get enough of it yesterday, a little kirtan. Right? I mentioned it last night. Every year we get together here and we chant the whole Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. We chant the whole Bhagavad Gita. And the next day, I always get a few calls. Devotees say, can we do this every day? And the first time we did a monthly Sankirtan festival, that's when devotees go out together to distribute books. That was circa 2008, I think, or 2007. I have the poster on my wall at home. And the next day, everyone said, can we do this every week? So spiritual practice is enlivening. We just want to do it more and more. So if we can practice until we have a taste that it's the main thing we like to do, then we're on the safe side of life. And we can cultivate that to the point where we're sustained by our spiritual practice. It becomes our main thing.